Hey, what's up, guys? This is Mo back with my channel Element 115. This is going to be my third video. Thank you if you've subscribed before to my other two videos. I'm just starting this channel. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe because I can't start monetizing until I at least have 500 subs. So I really need you guys to subscribe. Just click at the bottom and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Now, today, what we're going to get into is a viewing or a reaction video by me that has to do with Tim Burchett, which is a congressman from Tennessee, and Tucker Carlson. It was on his podcast. And what we have here is a new underwater UFO sighting. Also, Tim talks to us about new technology. He talks to us about why he thinks maybe the government is lying to us. So I thought this was very important. A congressman coming out and talking about this. I talked to some of my friends, and they don't even realize that this is happening. They're like, no congressman is talking about UFOs and aliens. And I'm like, yeah, it is. They even had a hearing, and they have no idea. So just sit back, relax, listen to this podcast. I'm going to do, I'm going to put my 2 cents in, and please comment in the chat or the comment section on what you think about it. I'd love to know what you think about what he's going to say, because some of this stuff that he says is very shocking. And like I said, please subscribe. If you're coming back, thank you for coming back. And if you'd like to donate to this channel, especially this is a young channel, I just got very basic technology that I'm using. I mean, I'm not even using a computer. I'm using a Google Chromebook for this, and I hope it actually works. So if you'd like to donate to my channel, I've added my cash tag in the description. So let's get in here and let's listen to what Tim has to say on the Tucker Carlson podcast. Bear with me, guys.
Thank you, Congressman, for doing this. I never talk about
UFOs. Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Never talk about UFOs. We don't do shows on UFOs, UAPs, whatever they're calling them, these mysterious lights, these objects, because I know for a dead certain fact that there is an ongoing 70-year ongoing disinformation campaign by the U.S. government to sow confusion. Some people participating in that effort, I don't think they know they're participating in the effort, but they are nevertheless selling lies in an effort to get people off the trail of what this really is. There is something going on. What is it? It's so hard to know. You're one of the few people, from my perspective, who seems sincere. You're also informed as a member of Congress. And so I'm just grateful that you're doing this because I think you're going to be telling the truth. So what are these things?
Nice little intro that I'm probably get copyrighted on, but I hope not. Now, you guys will also see during this interview how down to earth Tim is. He's really down to earth, and he's the salt of the earth type of guy, and that's what you
I don't
need
know.
in
I think
Congress.
there's a lot of different misconceptions about him. I kind of came into it organically, I guess. I had pretty cool parents. They would just take me to the library and just let me stay, or I'd ride my bike over and stay a couple hours. I grew up in the 70s in Tennessee, and I guess now you'd probably be taken to DCS or something for that. But I went in there, and I can remember there was a stack of books on a thing, and they had all the something on maybe the occult or something like that, and then Bigfoot, and then there's something on UFOs. And I picked up the UFO book, started reading about it, and it just fascinated me. And I and I read the Bible. I'm a Christian. I'm not a very good one, obviously, by my chosen profession, but but the Bible talks about Ezekiel saw the wheel, and people always say, "Well, that was a dream." They always try to over-explain things in the Bible, and I just think it's written for simple folks like me. And
I agree with that.
And it was.
Now, guys, if you are not familiar with the Bible, there is a passage in Ezekiel where Ezekiel sees a vision, and I'll actually give you the chapter. It's Ezekiel chapter 1. And specifically, it is verses 15 through 21. And then it is chapter 10, 9, and 10. It describes in detail the appearance and movement of these wheels in the sky. It's like a wheel within a wheel within a wheel within a wheel, which are associated with the living creatures of the presence of God. The wheels are described as sparkling, interconnecting, and able to move in any direction without turning. Now that's kind of interesting. Able to move in any direction without turning. And they are also said to be full of eyes, symbolizing God's power. So that's a little description of what Ezekiel saw in his vision in the Bible. Now, if you want to go check out the Bible, I would love you to, guys. If you listen to my first video, you know how Jesus Christ and God and my faith has helped me get over some traumatic experiences, let's say, and I'd like you guys to do the same if that's what you're struggling with. But take a look at the Bible if you want to know even just about this. This is Ezekiel chapter 1 and then chapter 10. So let's get back in here.
It was a translation, though, and at the time, the most technologically advanced item that they had was a wheel. And it describes a wheel within a wheel. Exactly. And it describes a landing gear and all these other things that we would today say are modern day flying saucers.
And it's pretty specific, and the Ezekiel passage you're referring to is it's not just like a parenthetical note. It's like a whole description.
Oh yeah, he goes into it. He describes, I think, the landing gear. In some translations, it talks about it being hooves of animal, like the hoof of an animal. Which, if you see, you see when we went to the moon, that there's the landing gear. It's got a pad. If we actually went to the moon, I know there's a lot of people that don't believe it. But
I'm arching my eyebrows, but we'll refrain from comment.
Yeah. But so I'm laying on my couch. Fast forward, I'm in Congress. I'm laying on my couch and I'm getting ready to go to sleep. I sleep in my office. I'm showering in the gym. I'm not, as my banker says, he called me one day and said, he said, brother, he said, I'm pretty sure that you're the most honest member of Congress, but I know you're the poorest. So
such a humble guy, Tim.
I do that. And so I was watching, there was a thing on UFOs and they were talking about, some former members were involved in some stuff trying to find out something. And I thought, I'm going to start asking some questions. And then I'm walking down the street and the center of all media in Washington, D.C., TMZ, his name's Colin. He's a good friend of mine. We've been to lunch and hang out some, but he stopped me and I didn't know who he was. And he said, hey, I'm with TMZ. He said, what do you think about this UFO report that's getting ready to come out? And I said, brother, it'll look like it was shot with a shotgun because it'll be all redacted.
Oh yeah.
And then, and I said, and it won't come out when they say it's going to come out. And I said, really? Why? And I said, well, probably because the original report is probably going to have something in it and they're going to pull it back. And sure enough, they did. And it was heavily redacted and it was just a big fluff piece, nothing. And then I said the magic words, which I ended up putting on one of my T-shirts, which I sell on my website, that more people believe in UFOs than believe in Congress, and
for good reason,
and for great reason. And so people started calling me. You know, all these national figures that you see, reporters, legitimate reporters like yourself, people from all over the country, and so I started asking questions, and I get with Luna and some other folks. Matt Gaetz was involved in it at the time, and we went to the chairman and said, let's have a hearing. And I think they really, Tucker, I think they just patted us on the head and said, sure, we'll have the hearing, you know, and they're going to make fun of you and go on. Turned out, I talked to some old timers that were there, reporters. They said that was the most attended hearing they'd ever had. They had to open up another room, and there were people lined up down the hall. When I walked out at, in the morning, I walked out of the office, had to be on an early show about it. At 4:30 in the morning, people were already lined up outside the building, and they come from all over the country. One guy came on his vacation.
That's so awesome, guys, that people came and showed up. And trust me, from what I heard, it was not an easy ticket to get. You had to wait in line and not show up like an hour before, but just like Tim said, you had to be there like at, almost 12 to 14 hours before the hearing just to get in line to have the possibility of getting in to the hearing. So I think that's great that the public showed up in full force, and it was the biggest hearing that this gentleman could ever remember, which I think is totally awesome. The public needs to know. We need to know. If the government doesn't know, then tell us they don't know what it is. But at least tell us that there's something out there instead of having programs to study UFOs, but we don't believe in UFOs. Let's have programs to study aliens, but we don't believe in aliens. Let's have programs like majestic programs to study psychics and mediums and telepathy, but we don't believe in that. But we're going to spend millions of dollars on programs to study it. Make sense? Not at all, right? So unbelievable. But I thought it was so awesome that the public showed up to this. Great for the public. Let's get back in here and listen. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I think Congressman Tim Burchett is salt of the earth. I mean, he's the type of guys that we need in Congress. Humble, just easy to talk to, and I don't think you could get too many other congressmen to come on and talk about this. But Tim, he comes on, he's serious, he takes people's sightings serious, he takes our pilot sighting seriously. I think he's a great congressman. And I mean, I wish here in North Carolina we had a guy like this guy. I mean, I think, as you can see, he's would be somebody that I definitely would vote for.
And there was ministers there. There's people. So it really touched a nerve. And,
hoping for disclosure.
That's exactly right. The truth. And they're tired of being told they're idiots. And the funny thing about it all is that when I go to speak to groups, it never fails that somebody of prominence will come, a doctor, a lawyer, a PR person will come up to me and say, hey, I had an experience. I was helping out a colleague. I rarely go out of town. This is kind of unusual for me. So this is kind of a interesting deal for me up here. But I went to another congressman's district to help him run for re-election. We were sitting in a country club, and I'm not a country clubber type, as you can probably tell. Jackie Gleason said I wouldn't join a country club that'd have somebody like me, and I'm sort of like that way. And I sit next to this lady, and she was classy. You could tell she was old money. She wasn't new money. She had nice jewelry on, and she had the clothes you could tell were nice. And she was just a classy lady. And she said, Congressman, about those UFOs. And I thought, well, here it comes. I'm going to get popped. And she said, I had an experience when I was in college. She said she talked about going to pick up her brother, and this thing followed them down for several minutes. It was cylindrical shaped, and it followed them. I think it was close to dark, and it was kind of lit up. It had I think a bluish tint to it or something, and it followed them for quite some time. And then it just took off, and they were like, what in the world was that? And they, this was in the 70s. And she said, I really haven't really told many people that. And I get stories like that.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You hear how Tim respects the lady, respects the story. And actually, the lady is so comfortable with Tim that she tells him a story that she's hardly told anybody. That just proves what I said before. I think this is a good guy. I think he's a great guy to be looking in to this this big problem that we have as far as UAPs and airspace, and just the whole story of why the government is lying to us. I think he's a great guy to look into this.
And when they film you, when I was early on in Congress, I had plenty of time, obviously, it being the 435th most powerful member of Congress. And, these History Channel, all these folks would come interview me, and they would do, one time they interviewed me for like an hour. So they would take segments of that and put that out for just multiple issues, of their TV show, Hunting UFOs or whatever. And I remember I was in Nashville at the time, and a colleague, a former state legislator, a guy who was in leadership, called me up. And I remember it was kind of ironic that he was back in East Tennessee, and I was in Nashville for a get-together I was throwing for our state legislators, because when I was in legislature, nobody ever did anything for us from Congress. And I just get down there and throw them a spaghetti dinner or something, And the phone rang, and it was him, and he said, Timbo, he said, I just saw you on TV on the UFO show. And I said, really? And I thought, here it comes. He's going to pop me. He said, let me tell you a story about when I was in the Navy. And he's older, and he was hollering back at his wife, what year was that? And she would holler, I think it was in the late 50s. And he was on I believe it's a tin can, but that's a destroyer. You probably know more. But anyway, he was
that's right.
in the Navy. And he said it was early on when they were first putting nuclear missiles on subs. They were unloading a missile for the sub. And he said the sub got out there, and then this thing just flew over the top of them. He said, Timbo, if that thing was 2 city blocks, it had to be 2 city blocks wide. He said it was cylindrical, and he named it, and he described it. And then he said it just took off. No noise, no heat, no vapor, nothing. And they all just stood there, and we're talking. They're going, what the heck was that?
Yeah.
And then they get back on shore. They go back to shore. And he said that, the men in the suit, he said, I figured it was CIA or something. And they said, if y'all don't, this is national security. If you ever talk about this, you'll be busting rocks for the rest of your life, if you're lucky.
Well, there's nothing like ending the day by the fire, book in your hand, dogs at your feet, cup of coffee at your side. I can tell you it works. And what makes it better is Cozy Earth. We're not even sure you've heard of the bubble cuddle blanket.
Sorry, guys. We got a little ads from Tucker. He's just going through an ad, but please, guys, tell me in the chat what you guys think in the comments. Not the chat, excuse me, but in the comments, what you guys think about so far about Tim Burchett and how he has just handling this interview. I think it's wonderful. But what's coming up is something that he says about a sighting underneath the sea and how fast it was going and how big it was.
The Earth, the best. So that attitude has not changed.
Not one bit.
No. And the question is, why? Why would the U.S. government have an interest in lying about something that's visible to millions of people around the world? So many people, as you just said, have had the experience of seeing them in person. Why would they have an interest in hurting those people, calling them crazy,
right,
threatening them, et cetera? So tell us about your experience as you've pushed for more disclosure. What kind of reaction have you received?
I think the arrogance from the federal government, there's a control thing that you see in every aspect of government. Everybody in power wants to keep you out of their little circle of power.
Yeah, of course.
And I think the monetary concern is there. Could you imagine if they had something that could heat homes in the summer, in the winter, and cool them in the summer, and had zero cost? I mean, it's something that it would put everybody out of business. The war pimps at the Pentagon would have to go out of business. We wouldn't have to be in wars all over the world, which are, if you get down to it, it's about oil. It's always about oil. And so you've got the greed factor, you got the power factor, and then you got just the arrogance. The Bible talks about professing themselves to be wise, they became fools.
That's right.
And there's nobody in Washington that doesn't think they're wise.
I wonder, though, I mean, for sure. So you think this is an effort to hide the existence of superior technology because it's a threat to existing industry?
I think that's part of it. And also, but it's like this, we're motorcycle guys. Say I took a brand new Indian or Harley Davidson down to back in time to the Mayflower or whatever,
exactly,
and gave it to them. They would maybe shine it. They wouldn't know how to do anything. I mean, of course, they didn't have we don't have carburetors. They wouldn't know how to do anything with fuel injection. They probably couldn't ever make the fuel high enough octane where it'd kick it off. They maybe could get it started if they got lucky at some point.
Right.
But that would be a rarity. I think that's sort of, if there is something that they don't know what it is.
That's a great analogy.
They have compartmentalized this stuff. So you think FOIA, I'm going to freedom of information. Everybody says, well, just freedom of information at Burchett, go to Area 51. There's nothing at Area 51. They've moved it to Wright Pad or something else since then. But the point is that everybody in government is looking down the barrel or looking in their little area. And to their knowledge, most of those people are telling the truth. And they send it off to these, there's 5 or 6 corporations that it's been disclosed in hearings that we think probably has some of this technology, but it has been so compartmentalized that people, I mean, there's nobody alive that was around when in Roswell of 47. That's right. And incidents that happened in Texas and others all over the world. And so they don't really know what they're looking at. They're looking at something, and they've associated it or given it to these corporations that have a quasi-governmental connection, but they're far enough apart where I can't go FOIA. I can't go FOIA forward. I mean, I could, but they're just going to tell me, go jump in the lake. I'm not going to tell you.
But I guess I'm stumbling over kind of the most basic claim that they make, which is that all this information is classified.
Yeah.
On what grounds could the federal government justify classifying reports of things that its servicemen have seen?
Every time it's national security, Tucker.
But what does that mean?
I don't know, but you have a group of people that are so afraid of the industrial war machine that funds their campaigns. And you go to these, you look at all the people that stop. When I have a disclosure bill, I just want to know. I'm not saying they're out there, but we're spending tens of millions. Every department, FBI, CIA, I'm pretty sure TVA doesn't, but they probably should. But there's probably every alphabet agency in the country has a wing that's investigating these things. NASA, they are all doing it. They're all doing it. They'll admit that they're looking at something, but then you come to them, they say they don't exist, but we need the money to do it. And now the interesting thing is
that's in the budget.
Oh yeah. And now the interesting thing is that they've seen that the opinion polls are showing that over half the people in the country believe something else is going on.
Oh, of course.
And so now they're saying, hey, we need money to study this. I mean, it's the cat going after its tail, really. And it's just a circular thing that they just after money and they don't really care.
Well, of course, they don't. Well, that's for sure. But there is a process by which the Congress demands disclosure, and that process has been thwarted. And I'm just interested in getting details on how that happens. So the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023, I think.
Yeah.
Required disclosure. That passed, right?
Allegedly. But again, who's going to enforce it?
So, but what did that, do you remember what that act required?
It is, I do not believe it passed. The one that I'm thinking about did not pass in the Senate because you remember I had the bill, it was 2 pages long for disclosure.
What did it say?
And then it just said if it dealt with UAPs, UFOs, it disclosed it. If a file contains it, America has the right to see it, unredacted. And Chuck Schumer's was several hundred pages long, and it was celebrated by everybody. And it set up a commission very similar to the Kennedy assassination, which here we are, 60 plus years later, and still, they're telling us this single bullet that was, and you're a gunman that they found on a gurney.
What do you guys think about that? I mean, this is a little bit. This is more about disclosure than a UFO sighting or a UFO story that we're going to hear from Tim. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that everything should be shown to the government? I mean, excuse me. I'm sorry about that. Everything should be declassified for us to see it. But what if it puts the United States in harm? What if it, is a national security issue, and if we disclose this to the world, then that means, China, Russia, everybody gets a chance to look at it, not just us. So me personally, I don't believe in full disclosure. I think there has to be a line has to be drawn to protect us, to protect our nation, to protect our citizens. A line has to be drawn. That's just me personally. You guys might think something else, but let me know in the comments what you guys think.
That was basically unscratched, an hour and a half after the assassination in the hospital at Lakeland.
After going through 2 bodies.
After 2 bodies and bone and everything else. And but anyway.
So, but Schumer's solution was we needed a Warren Commission to tell us the truth about
to who can decide. And that basically would just cover it up. And I trust America.
Why would, of course, but why would Chuck Schumer do that? Like, what's his motive? Do you have any idea?
I think his staffers drew up the bill, and I think honestly in their mind they probably thought it was the right thing. But here's my thing about staffers. Everybody wants to talk about the swamp, and I always go through this. A swamp is something pretty cool. God created a swamp. I grew up frog gigging and fishing and around swamps. They're pretty cool. They attract animals for good reason, and so Washington D.C. is not a swamp. It is a sewer. It is a man-made creation. Now figure this, you've got a staffer. And Republicans,
he's telling the truth though.
Less government. I look at these we get these pictures made every couple of years. I don't know why. I've never seen the picture. I'm not going to hang it up in my dadgum office of your committee, and all the people on the committee, and then all the staffers behind it. I counted one time on ours. I think it was close in one of my committees, close to 50 people. And I guess for the Democrats, we get 49 people. We're supposed to be less government. So you have a staffer say that is, and the committees are just too big. And too many of these chairmen, the biggest mistake they make is, we're going to be different. We're going to be different. And what do? They keep almost every dadgum staffer. And the staffer is already plugged in with the lobbyists, with the K Street crowd. And they're the ones probably getting a little trip somewhere, maybe going out for a steak dinner, going out for drinks. And
he said a steak dinner.
And so I can't tell you how many times I've seen a good bill become a study bill.
I completely agree, except in most cases, it's like obvious why industry would want to subvert the legislation. Like they don't want the regulation. They don't want competition. There are a lot of different obvious reasons, and you sort of see how the staffs are paid off. I get it. But UFOs, like, is there a UFO lobby? Like,
well, there's
who wants that? Who's paying for that?
I think,
and why?
I think you've got major technology corporations, aeronautics, some of our missile defense people. For some reason, they do not want this released.
That's very weird, because whatever's going on is clearly, or would seem to be, a threat to them.
Well, look at the.
You don't control your airspace, which we don't.
Right.
Why is that not a problem for Raytheon?
Look at the financial disclosure of the people that always fight me on these bills. That's what I would tell you to do.
And if we were to do that, I can think of one.
You see the names of a couple of those, a couple of those corporations.
So it's defense contractors are the bottom line is.
I think
defense contractors do not care. They don't care about us. They just don't want this technology out. I think I honestly believe I would say we are at least 100 years, 75 to 100 years further as far as technology goes than what's being released. I think that's at least, when you're talking about these defense contractors. I think that these, what is it, the triangle UFO, the it's on the tip of my tongue, the TRB-3, I think it is. That is ours. I think we are far further than a lot of you guys think. And in future videos, I'm going to talk about actually people saying that they spoke with aliens, they talked to aliens about their technology that they would give to us, and how our conscience is involved with the technology, all this stuff. I mean, if we're talking to aliens, guys, and some of us think that we have made some type of treaty with them as far as they can study us if we get their technology. If we have done this, guys, and this was done in the 50s, do you guys not think we are at least 100 years as advanced in technology than what they're telling us? Come on. That's only if you grant me what I'm saying about as far as talking to aliens, the treaty. And I know it sounds crazy. I can't believe I'm even saying this, but some of the facts and some of the evidence show this. Plain and simple. I mean, the more and more I think about it, the more I think maybe we are way further than 100 years advanced technology than what they're telling us.
Yeah. What you're saying is the defense contractors, for some reason, we can only speculate, don't want this information disclosed.
That's correct.
Well, that's a very powerful lobby, of course.
It's one of the most powerful ones. That's why we're sending $600 million to Ukraine in the National Defense Authorization, which I didn't vote for. I wanted to give our military more money, military fighting men more money, but I didn't want to give the war pimps any more reason to Ukraine or any of these other wars we're in.
No.
And the interesting thing about the $600 million,
I love this guy.
I was told by our leadership and in our conference that the president had requested that. And then I talked to the White House, and guess what? The president had not requested that.
Right. No, that's right.
Just $600 million. So, Burchett,
of course not.
What are they going to do with that?
I watch people jump. I mean, I'm not the world's great Trump expert, but I feel like I paid pretty close attention. I hear these people jump up and down. Trump, this is in the name of Trump. It's like, that's the opposite of what I think he wants, but whatever. Well, Grand Canyon University is not like most American colleges. It focuses on the things that actually matter. It is not a ripoff. It is the real thing. It's private, affordable, Christian university located in the heart of Phoenix, one of the largest universities in the country, actually. At Grand Canyon University, education is more than academics.
Sorry about this, guys. It's just an ad that Tucker Carlson
every student
has.
to live out the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And actually,
Rights are not
I've
given by
looked
the
into
government.
this
They're bestowed at
college,
birth, at
and it's being
conception
Christian.
by God.
I'm thinking about going back.
That's just a fact. And Grand Canyon University is not going to lie to your kids and claim otherwise. It tells the truth. So you're thinking a quality education is rare, so this probably costs a fortune. Colleges constantly jack up their costs.
Now, guys, he's about to talk to us. Tim is about to explain about the underwater sighting, which I think is incredible. So I know it's at the end of the video, but hold on, you'll see it. And as soon as this ad is over, I'm a new channel, so I'm not quite, I'm learning about this as I go, and I'm trying to edit as well. So that's going to be in the future. So,
but I do think it raises like the core question, which I still am confused by. It's like, why would Raytheon be so opposed to the disclosure of this information? So what exactly happened? Where are we with disclosure?
A lot of people think that these
money,
the ones that have the material
Tucker,
from whatever craft or whatever it is. That's what I've been told by people in government and that are in the know. And it's funny. It was like like
these companies have benefited from technology, from
apparently,
whatever these things are.
Apparently, that's what they're telling me. Yeah.
Wow.
And inform people, not just people.
No, not just some guy on the street. And it's funny. I've had the deep throat moment, where Nixon was overthrown, and somebody comes up to me in the hallway, in a crowded hallway, somebody who I would consider a friend, and said, "Burchett, man, you really don't need to be doing this stuff, don't you? Man, you're kicking the hornet's nest on this thing,
on the UFO stuff."
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I've had them try to use it against me in campaigns and things, but we don't ever raise enough money to matter anyway.
Use against you in campaigns.
Yeah. And the whisper campaign, or they put it on the internet. Burchett's, all he cares about is this. No, I just care about where's the tens of millions
patronizing
of dollars. I have a right to know.
Well, also, this is the biggest story
patronizing
in human history.
Yeah.
I would think. I mean, what is that?
Are we alone? Yeah.
Clearly not. And so you're satisfied, just to get to basics here quickly, you're satisfied that whatever we're seeing in the skies and have since at least the Second World War, since at least the development of nuclear weapons, since Hiroshima, whatever that is not foreign military.
No, because here it is. If it was Russian, I mean, honestly, Putin with his ego, he would ride bare-chested down Pennsylvania Avenue, get out of a UFO, wrestle a bear on the front porch of the White House and get back in his uniform. I mean, he wouldn't be bogged down in Ukraine. If it was China, they would own us. They clearly partially own us now. And if it was America, you wouldn't see Trump standing on an aircraft carrier, and a jet flies by and breaks the sound barrier, and everybody thinks that's the coolest thing. And I mean, it would be something a lot cooler than that. And so I just don't think we have that technology, or we're able to utilize it.
So in the course of your probing into this, no one's ever taken you aside and said, "Hey, Burchett, back off a little bit. This is our stuff. We don't want to disclose it."
Pretty close to that.
Wow.
But you don't believe it. You don't think this is our technology.
No, I do not. There's no way. It is no way it's our technology. There's, I've talked to too many pilots. Why would we risk our best? I mean, I've talked to the best pilots in the world that are ours. Some of them, not all of them, and that have told me. I mean, one guy, I remember I was at the Capitol Hill Club. It was just an unusual encounter. A guy spoke to a group, and he followed me out and said, Tim, or Congressman or whatever, he said that thing was 14 feet. He went like this from my canopy. And I thought to myself, why didn't he say 15? Why didn't he say 20? But he said 14. And then he said this thing, it wasn't ours. He said, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't ours. And that's all he said. And I had a very high-ranking member of the Navy describe some underwater experiences they'd had with something that was doing 200 miles. And the best thing we got is probably 40.
It's doing 200 miles an hour underwater.
Underwater, big as a football field. And that's no fish.
So is it possible, given our current understanding of physics, for any man-made machine to go in?
Now, guys, that was from an admiral of the Navy. Something going 200 miles an hour as big as a football field. Now, he had a fair point about it not being our technology. I see where he's coming from. I don't think something like that is our technology. This is clearly information that he is getting firsthand from people that have seen this, guys. We are talking about technology that would change the world, obviously. And the government and the defense contractors don't want this disclosed. And it's plain and simple that they're trying everything they can to not have disclosure. But yet we have the public and we have people like Tim that want some form of disclosure. Like I said, total disclosure, no, that can't happen, because that would put America and its citizens defenseless, I think, because that's how much I believe that has been redacted from these classified files. So, I mean, imagine the technology that it would take to have something as big as a football field going 200 miles an hour. I mean, guys, if you shoot a gun in a pool, the bullet just stops and falls down. That's the way physics works. Can you imagine being able to move that fast underwater? And I'm sure you guys think and are starting to catch on when it comes to this phenomenon that these UAPs, UFOs, that maybe they've been here the whole time. Maybe they are older than us. Maybe something happened where they had to go underground. And according to some people, and according to a lot of evidence, is that most of them, when they are, the sightings are, they're near a big body of water. And the most sightings are over the ocean, where in the ocean is the biggest, how can I say, like canyons underneath the ground. I mean, underneath the ocean. So they're hiding in the ocean. So you guys comment and let me know what you think about this. Comment and let me know what you think about the video. I think it's go when you get a chance and you can watch the whole thing. Go and watch the whole thing. There's even more stuff in here. But I thought it was the first part of this podcast was very important. Later on, they start, in a little bit. That's basically the main. That's basically the best part of the podcast to me. After this, they start talking more about politics and stuff like that. But I thought it was very telling that Tim Burchett, a congressman, is getting firsthand would you say stories or evidence from people that have experienced this, and he is taking it seriously. Now, let's hope that this seriousness continues and we get some form of disclosure. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. I hope you guys see that my quality is getting better as far as my videos. I hope you guys please subscribe, because like I said, I can't monetize my channel until I have 500 subscribers. So it doesn't cost you anything to press that button, subscribe to my channel, please. And if you guys would like to donate anything, I have added my cash tag for Cash App in the description. It is $DATDUDE 417. If you'd like to donate $5, $10, $15, anything would help. I hope you guys see that I'm serious about this, and hope you follow my channel. And with that being said, please subscribe to Element 115, the YouTube channel. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time. And I should be dropping a video probably within the next 24 to 48 hours. So look out for that. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless. Peace.